All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Non-Negotiables podcast with your host, Justin Langman, aka the HARDGAINER trainer. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure to do that already because I post a lot more on there than I do on here, but I post good stuff on here too. So sub on here. um, so I wanted to start the podcast off by talking about something that not a lot of people do. Um, the prevalence of mood disorders in bodybuilding. Now, I'm no psychiatrist, I'm no psychologist. I'm not here to tell you to go to therapy or anything, but I just think it's an interesting concept. You know, Bodybuilding's a pretty like macho sport for the most part. Like even the women, bro, like they're pretty high test. Um, but this sport tends to attract a lot of people with kind of mood disorders, and very interesting psyches that I've noticed, myself included. I'm not exempt from this. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Like it's a sport that's all about improving the way you look, which, um, can be a big cause of insecurity and mental instability for a lot of people. Not looking the way you want, 100%. I get that. I was there. Um, so obviously, bodybuilding attracts a lot of people like that, and it tends to attract a lot of people with kind of like depressive personalities or what I see a lot is like very anxious personalities. I kind of fall in, honestly, I fall into both of those categories. It attracts a lot of fucking ex drug addicts. And I'm not talking about like dudes who went to AA and cleaned their life up. Like sometimes it's literally like a 1 day switch. That's what happened to me. I was like, oh, I should probably put down these pills and pick up a syringe and some testosterone. Like I'm not gonna pretend like I'm some fucking saint who worked the 12-step program or some whatever bullshit, went to therapy. Fuck that. No, I literally decided to trade one addiction for another. I traded popping pills and drinking and doing blow in my fucking bedroom to being addicted to building my physique. I wouldn't say I'm addicted to steroids. I sure do like them, and I sure wouldn't want to stop them. So maybe I am addicted. Um, but it really attracts a lot of those people, and honestly, I think that's kind of where the myth of roid rage comes from. Because personally, I'm not an angry person. Um, I don't think steroids made me angry. I think maybe my first trend cycle, when I didn't really know how to deal with those emotions, it might have presented itself as a little bit of roid rage. But ever since then, not really. Considering I worked as a corrections officer for 3 years, there's plenty of opportunities for me to roid rage out, and honestly, probably get away with it. But no, I didn't. What I think steroids do is really amplify your already existing personality. I think I am just generally not a very confrontational person. I'm pretty, I wouldn't say laid back. Laid back isn't the right word. But I kind of just like to chill. I kind of like to do my own thing. I don't really like to be bothered by others. Kind of a hermit. I don't go out a lot. I like to just kind of chill, stick to my own schedule, do my own thing. And I've also always had very high anxiety, and steroids amplified that a million times. Now it's like I really like to stick to my schedule. Like if you fuck with my schedule, if you fuck with my routine, my peace, we're not gonna be friends. Straight up. I will. I will. Like honestly, I was considering not even going home for Thanksgiving just because I didn't want my schedule fucked with. But I realized that's selfish, and I should see my family. um, and like anxiety, bro. Fuck, man. Like anytime, and I guess it's good to be worried about your health when you're on steroids. Anytime I have a heartbeat that's a little weird, I'm like, oh, today's the day. Steroids got me. Or like, dude, anytime like I get slightly sweaty when I'm on insulin, I'm like, I'm going hypo. I'm going hypo. So I mean, this stuff can mess with you. People don't really talk about this. Steroids do cross the blood-brain barrier. I mean, like think about things like tren or nandrolone. They have a very potent mental effect. So do DHTs, but in a very different way. Usually, people see DHTs in a more positive light, but they all have very potent mental effects. They cross the blood-brain barrier, and they significantly impact your personality. Usually, it just makes it um, what it already is stronger, from what I've seen. But there are some people that get fucked up by it. Like, let's be real. people always talk about like, the actual health side effects, but this stuff is some steroids are neurotoxic. Like if you're running trend for long periods of time, it can fuck you up. Like full transparency, I think I did some damage to myself with the amount of tren I used and the amounts of time I used it for back when I was a little dumber with my steroid use. My like dopamine and probably years of drug abuse play into this too. Let's factor that in. Like my dopamine receptors are fucked. There's very few things that make me feel anything, like any sort of excitement or pleasure or anything. Um, and I attribute a lot of that to A, recreational drug use, and B, probably making myself neurotoxic for long periods of time. Because I mean, back in the day, I used to be running my tren at like 500 to 750 for like a long time, longer than I should have. So why am I bringing this up? Well, I think you really have to be a good bodybuilder. You have to know yourself. You have to know your habits and know your patterns. Like if you know that like you have a depressive personality and when you get depressed, you like to comfort eat, like that's something you got to know about yourself if you want to be a successful bodybuilder because that's something you have to actively, counteract. Um, like if like you're like me and your anxiety's super high and you're always going to be freaking out about like health side effects and stuff, you're probably going to have to like put in some extra effort to like calm yourself almost. Like for me, what makes it better is like, oh, if I think I'm on hypo when I know I'm not, I just test my blood glucose. Oh, boom, hard data that I'm not dying. Oh, something feels off, I get blood work. Wow, I'm not dying. Crazy. um, but I think like being a good bodybuilder does require you know yourself and you know how you react to things. Because believe it or not, the way you feel will manifest in your physique. If you are going through it mentally, your body will show it. You will hold extra water. You might look flat. Your sleep might get fucked. So that's why I bring this up. Not to be the mental health advocate. There's plenty of guys doing that already, and most of them are really fucking corny. I just exist with the fucked up shit I got going on. But if you're someone who's not the perfect, Chad bro bodybuilder, not a care in the world, um, sometimes you got to take like a personal inventory, what you got going on, and know yourself and know what you can handle and what you can't handle. If you know that you become a train wreck every time you take tren, might not be worth it for you. Maybe a primo super draw combo will get you the look you want, the same kind of trend look, and you can avoid, going through your fifth divorce because of tren. Um, you know, one, this is kind of a side note, but on the same topic. Dude, if you are a like already like natural or like on TRT, just one of those guys who is just like a serial cheater waiting to happen, like I have plenty of fucking friends like this who just like perfectly happy relationship. I gotta cheat on my girl. If you're one of those guys, bro, stay the fuck away from Tren and Masteron because it will amplify your personality, and your personality is not a good one. So, uh, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. I think that's enough on that. If anyone has any questions on that, leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. Um, the next thing I wanted to talk about is injury recovery. Um, and I'm talking about like tears, like things that generally have to be surgically repaired, not, hurting your back a little deadlifting or, my joints hurt. Dude, if you bodybuild, once you're not like 21 anymore, you're gonna be hurting. I'm 24 and my whole body hurts all the time. I should be better about my mobility. I was good for a bit and then I started slacking. Let's talk about how to recover from an injury. Like say you tear a pec. That's a very common one in bodybuilders. It's usually incline barbell bench too. Sorry about that. Um, so if you need to have something surgically repaired, and if you tore a tendon off the bone completely, you will have to get it surgically repaired. Because your muscle will have nothing to pull on. Your tendons pull. or your muscles pull on the tendons, which pull on the bones, which move your joints. That's how they work. Um, God, I sound retarded. But if you have to get that surgically repaired, first thing you need to do is come off cycle. Yeah, it sucks. Go down to TRT. You do not want to be on cycle when you are going under a scalpel, have to get put under anesthetics. Like if your blood pressure's all fucked up and this is all fucked up and that's all fucked up, that's not a good sign. I'd be kind of scared to do that. So if you have the option and the time, come off cycle if you know you have surgery. Afterwards, okay, we are post surgery now. You're good to get back on stuff. So, what would be the goal when we're recovering from an injury? Obviously, we're not trying to build muscle. We can't really work out at that point if the injury is bad enough. So, our goal is to avoid losing muscle. So, how do we avoid losing muscle? Well, we need to stop the body from excreting nitrogen. Because that is what am I talking about? What am I talking about? Okay. So your muscle, your protein, your nitrogen is stored in one spot in your body. Muscles. And I'm not talking about like the pumped look of your muscle. That's glycogen. I'm talking about your actual muscle fibers. That's where protein slash nitrogen is stored. So we want to increase nitrogen retention and decrease nitrogen secretion. We want a positive nitrogen balance. Your body is holding more nitrogen than it is excreting. So, how do we do that? Well, obviously a testosterone base. But there are a couple things that are really good for having a positive nitrogen balance. There are a couple of steroids: primobolan, anavar, and trenbolone. So, I'm not really going to give you dosage recommendations, but those three steroids on top of your testosterone will help your body to lose as little muscle as possible. Obviously, you're going to lose the look. You're not pumping up your muscles. You're not stuffing them full of glycogen every day by pumping blood into them. That's okay. That muscle can be reanimated. It's like when you go on a health phase and you kind of like lose a little size, but it comes right back the minute you get on cycle. If you weren't retarded on your health phase and eating like shit. Um, so what's the next thing we need to do? Well, everyone's going to tell you BPC 157 and TB 500. I think they're great. I think they're great for small injuries. The best thing for healing an injury in the fastest amount of time is pharmaceutical grade human growth hormone. So I'm talking your serostims, your genotropins, your norditropins. I don't know if generic does the same thing, but there's no studies on it, so I'm not going to recommend it. There have been studies on knee tendons specifically, of people injecting pharmaceutical grade growth hormone directly into the tendon, and it grows at an extremely fast rate. And that's what you want. You want your tendon to grow so it can heal. It does work systemically, obviously, but you get an extra benefit if you go right into the tendon. Obviously, not the day after fucking surgery. You want it to be like healed enough where it can handle a little insulin syringe in it. But there's all those athletes make like miracle recoveries. Like, dude, a baseball player fucking tears ACL and is back in 4 weeks. Yeah, it's not natural. That doesn't naturally happen. That is pharmaceutical grade human growth hormone doing that. I know, guys, pretty crazy. Um, people will try to sell you the BPC 157, TB 500. I think they're great compounds. That's not what they've like. There really hasn't been any research on like healing tendons extremely fast. It's all kind of anecdotal. And a lot of people have kickbacks on it. I have a peptide kickback code. I could tell you to take TB 500 TB 500 BPC 157. Um, and I will tell you to take that if your knee hurts a bit and you need to lower the inflammation and get a little extra healing. But I'm not going to tell you to do that to try and reattach a tendon. Um, but guys, that's pretty key for injury recovery. And like obviously injuries are like the worst fucking thing ever in bodybuilding. I luckily haven't tore anything since I started bodybuilding, but I remember back when I just used to like work out casually, I tore my labrum uh getting pissed drunk and getting in a fist fight with my dad. Learned my lesson that a 60-year-old man can still kick my ass. But yeah, I tore that. I didn't even know I tore it. And I like dislocated my shoulder. Um, and I, for the next 6 months, I'd just like be like trying to do a pull up or something. And I just randomly like mini dislocate my shoulder and it would just like pop right back in. It hurt so fucking bad. It wasn't for like 6 months when I popped it out again fighting my best friend. Dude, I was a fuckhead. It wasn't until then that I actually figured out that it was torn. And I had like a little fracture in the bone around it too. It was fucked. Luckily, I got to heal it with just physical therapy. But guys, injuries suck. We want to avoid them if possible. But if you get one, why not get back in the game as fast as possible? That's a no-brainer to me. I'd spend the extra money on growth hormone. You're either spending your time recovering or your money recovering faster. So, hey, that's a you decision. Um, all right. I had a topic I wanted to talk about. I wanted to tell you guys how I used to do things. Back when I was a little younger and dumber, but I had the right idea. And honestly, I think I was a little more motivated back then. You see, I was kind of broke and I wanted to bodybuild, and I had trouble gaining weight. So I eat a lot of fucking food. So, I preach doing things the right way now. I have all my clients on pretty strict meal plans. Doesn't matter if they're future competitors or if they're just dads looking to get jacked. I like to have people do things the right way because it is more conducive to results in some people, but health in everyone. But I don't want to pretend like I'm perfect and that the way I do things is the only way to do it because that's never true. However, the way I used to do things had a different trade-off. I was sacrificing more health for my results than I do now. Honestly, I don't think I looked as good back then, but it was a different look for sure. Um, I I used to be a little more sloppy with things. And just like when you hop on gear in the first place, you're trading off your health for results. I was trading off more health for, I don't know if I'd say more results, but it was a trade-off. So guys, let me tell you about what I did when I was like a broke 21-year-old bodybuilding. So cycles. I needed the most bang for my buck. What is that? My cycles typically would be test and tren ace at a 1-to-1 ratio, generally 750 and 750, and anadrol at about 100 milligrams a day. Did it work? Yes, I looked pretty fucking nuts. I think I looked sloppier than I did now just because my diet was worse. I was holding more fat in the midsection and stuff, but like, bro, my fucking veins and shit were like out of this world. My workouts were crazy. Obviously, there was a health trade off, and with that much trend, a mental health trade off for sure. But it was a different way of doing things. I didn't really have the money for growth hormone or Primable, and so I was like, what can I spend the least money on and get the most results out of? Test and trend, hands down. And guys, this isn't a recommendation. This is just like, hey, here's what I did. Let's be real. Um, so I did that. It was just like great bang for my buck. It had me just looking like a fucking superhero, bro. Like I remember, I think I was like the first time I ran a cycle like that. I was on FTO when I worked at the jail, and my trainer was like, "Bro, are you? You're not natural, are you?" I was like, "I plead the fifth. You can ask me after I'm off FTO." But like, dude, it was very noticeable. Like, I get comments online like, "You look natty, bro. You look natty." That was not happening in real life, bro. Like, prisoners who are notorious for being dickheads to the new guys would be like, "Bro, you are." you look fucking nuts. Um, they won't hesitate to say you look like shit. um, so like those were my cycles. I think at some point I did start throwing in a little pharmaceutical growth hormone. I believe Norditropin was what I ran mostly. Um, and that was more like I was still broke, but I'd get like a Christmas bonus, and I just spent it all on growth hormone. Let's talk about diet. My diet was definitely not the best back then. I really only tracked calories and protein, and I was definitely like on a seafood, eat food diet. Because, as I said, I've always been kind of naturally. I wasn't even lean. I was just skinny. Like it was just I didn't look good. Um, and so weight gain was always the hardest part for me. Knowing what I know now, I'd probably be on a strict meal plan, eating a lot of clean bodybuilding food, but I just either didn't have the discipline or time or whatever for it back then, or maybe even just the knowledge. So my diet would typically be like something I'd wake up in the morning and I try to keep the shit as cheap as possible. So it'd be like 8 eggs and like just hold up, I think I have it right. Hold up, guys. This like 4 cup Pyrex, and I just fill this shit full of oats, cook it, throw in like peanut butter, whey. I was trying to get calories in. It's maybe not the most effective, but it was decently clean. And then I'd probably eat like 3 meals during the day at work, and it was usually like I'd make these like fake Chipotle bowls, and they were pretty cheap to make. I'd get like kind of shittier quality ground beef, white rice, and I'd like make it fake Chipotle rice. I'd throw in like cilantro and shit. Um, it doesn't taste like soap. That's a fucking lie. And I'd throw in like half a can of black beans and like some low fat shredded cheese. Um, and I didn't even really weigh it. Like I'd be like, oh, I cooked 2 pounds of beef, so if I make 6 containers, they're all however many fucking ounces. Like I wouldn't actually measure it. I'd just like go off the total. Same thing with my rice and everything else. Let me grab some water. Um, yeah, I was not very accurate with my stuff. Um, one thing I did do right, I had a gnarly pre, intra, post workout protocol. Stole this from my old coach, Dan the bodybuilder in Thailand. So about I'd say 20 minutes before I get off work because I'd be in the gym like 10 minutes after work. So there's about a 30-minute gap. I would put down about 2 scoops of whey isolate and I'd put down generally about 50 grams of carbs and I'd either use dextrose, actually I have a bucket of it next to me, dextrose or Haribo Gold Bears, like the gummy bears, because they're like the only candy that doesn't use like fucking fructose or like table sugar or high fructose corn syrup. They use glucose syrup. So that shit is like 100% bioavailable to the muscle. So I'd get some carbs going in me, get the insulin spiked, and then I'd go in the gym and I'd have a shaker cup of like 100 grams of dextrose. So 100 grams of straight bioavailable carbohydrates in the form of a simple sugar that doesn't have to be processed by the liver. And I drink that during my workouts. And I do pretty meathead workouts. Like I just be like, let's max out on deadlifts and then like just like fucking do some dog shit form barbell rows with heavy ass weight. I had fun. It was fun. It was like I had a good training partner at the time. I just like being there trying to hit PRs and just like move fucking weight. And it worked. Maybe not the most intelligent training, but it worked. I'm not even gonna bag on that because it fucking worked. But I drink that dextrose drink the whole time, so there's just like non-stop nutrients going to the muscles. Insulin just spiked like a motherfucker, so all that shit's getting shuttled in when I push blood into my fucking biceps or my back or whatever. And then immediately after finishing my workout, I'd have another shake of um, 50 grams of whey isolate, and I'd either do another 50 grams of carbs from dextrose or the gold bears. So I was putting down like 200 grams of sugar carbs, but it fucking worked. dude. It fucking worked. Then, then after the gym on the way home, I'm still wearing sweaty gym clothes. I'd pull through the McDonald's drive-through and I'd pick up like three McDoubles, a large fry, and a full sugar Powerade, and I'd put that back. Now, typically when you're spiking your insulin, um, you don't want these like kind of fatty, greasy foods. You're using two energy sources at once, fats and carbs. However, I had so much trouble putting on weight that that was like the only way I could get the scale to move. Was it good for me? Fuck no. My cholesterol came back pretty shitty on blood work, but everything else looked good. Um, but it worked. It helped me put some fucking size on my frame. Um, and I did this for a while, like years, honestly. Cycles were all pretty simple. It would be like test trend, and then like maybe I'll either throw in like primo or yeah, it was pretty much just primo. Later on, I moved to like test EQ deco as my main cycles, but this was like probably a year into being on gear, maybe a year to 2 years is where I did this. And was it a little sloppy? Yeah, like I didn't look my best all the time. My face was pretty bloated, but it worked. And honestly, I experimented. I was like, how cheap can I make this? So like, there was some times where I was just like, my meals would be like eggs, ramen, and canned tuna. Did it give me some nasty fucking farts? Yeah. Was it good for me? No. But it put size on my frame. And sometimes whatever it takes doesn't mean whatever is the most suffering hardcore bodybuilder way to do it. Sometimes it's like, hey, I'm willing to just say fuck my health for a bit, get big. I mean, like people don't like to talk about it, but like I hear Lee Priest talk about it all the time. He's like, "Yeah, my off season, I get fat, and I was eating KFC and stuff, but it worked." Um, you know, I'm not saying everyone should do a Sam Sulek diet. Most people can't handle that, but sometimes you got to push the envelope a little. You don't know what works until you try it. And as I said, this isn't really advice. I just want you guys to know that like there's different ways to do things. Most bodybuilders, like me included, start giving you guys advice when we're perfect. Quote, no one's perfect, but when we're doing things the right way. But I want you guys to know, like I did things differently. I haven't always been like this. Sometimes it was literally like, what can I manage? And that was what I could manage. And it worked. My training, as I said, it was pretty meatheady. Um, I'd either be doing like more. I honestly, I did and I still do train kind of like power builder style, but there was honestly time periods in there where I was literally just focused on getting strong. So I'd run like Mad Cow 5x5 or like starting strength, like these basic powerlifting programs, and then throw in some accessories at the end. Dude, I got big as fuck off that, like training like 3 days a week. Hey, sometimes the simple shit works. Once again, guys, this isn't a program I'm giving you. I just want to be real with you. Like, we're all going to tell you guys nowadays, like, oh, do this. You can't ever have fast food and you need to do this and that and this. Hey, man, I wasn't always perfect. I did some fucked shit to put on size. It worked, but there's a cost. That could have taken a couple years off my life. I won't know till I die. Um, a lot of guys have done some crazy shit like this. Like, if you ever listen to D Trend on any podcast, like he did some wild shit. His McDonald's order was bigger than mine. But no one sees D Trend's physique and says, whatever he did wasn't working. Hey, it worked, but at what cost? Really, guys, everything in bodybuilding costs something. Whether it's money, it's time, it's results, everything costs something. Say I have salmon for my last meal today. I don't. But say I'm out of salmon. So I got three options. I can either sacrifice my time, go drive to the store and get salmon. I can sacrifice, being on plan and possibly some results by, say, eating chicken breast and adding some olive oil to it to make up for the fats. I'm kind of sacrificing potential progress there because it's not perfectly on plan. The macros might match, but who knows how my body's going to process it differently. That could mess up my digestion. Who knows? Or I can sacrifice money and have someone, I can fucking Instacart it to my house. Have some minority go drive in the snow. Like, let's be real, that's what DoorDash and Instacart are. Um, but guys, like there's a sacrifice to everything. Bodybuilding, I don't think, even naturally, there's no way to come out of it unscathed. Like naturals destroy their hormones every time they cut and get fat every time they bulk. We're all sacrificing something. Um, and it just depends what it is, what you want to sacrifice. Personally, for me, I would rather these days I'd rather sacrifice time. I don't want to sacrifice results. I really don't want to sacrifice health either. You know, I'm 24. I've been on gear for like 5 years now. Who knows how much longer I'll be able to do it. So I want to extend that time by trying to take care of my health. Um, I mean, in that cabinet you see behind me, that's like full of health supplements, prescription meds to, keep my blood pressure in check, keep my cholesterol in check, all that stuff, guys. Um, and I'm sacrificing money on that. That's, that's what I'm trying to say, guys. So I call this podcast the non-negotiables. Like there are non-negotiables in bodybuilding, like the fact that you have to take gear, the fact that you have to sacrifice stuff. Um, but as I said, mood disorders, a little bit of fucked up brains in bodybuilding is very common. So most of us are willing to sacrifice something because we're crazy and we want to look like freaks for some reason. Who knows why? Everyone's got different reasons. Honestly, me, I never want to go back to the way I felt when I was a skinny drug addict. I like having purpose now. I don't like feeling lost. Um, and bodybuilding gives me that. But everyone's got their own reasons. You might have gotten bullied as a kid. Maybe you played sports and you just need that structure in your life. You thrive off of it. Who knows? Maybe you're in the military and like if you don't have something to do and a time you need to be somewhere and something to do, like you're fucked up. Who knows? Everyone's got different reasons. But at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We might sacrifice different things to get there, but we all want to get there. Honestly, I think that's all I have to talk to you guys about today. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. Check out my other videos. Got all my sponsors linked in the caption as usual. All great fucking companies. Obviously, I use them. I wouldn't fucking sign with them if I didn't, because I want free shit that I'm actually going to use. So check those out. Have a great night, guys.